You understood every word in the lesson. Then the movie started, and you understood nothing. Same words, same brain, 10 seconds apart. So what actually? The answer is not what you think. It is not your vocabulary. It is not your ears. And it is almost certainly not the speed. You already know this feeling. Your teacher speaks and you follow every sentence. You feel capable, fluent, even. Then someone real speaks, a barista, a colleague on a video call, two friends in a cafe who are not talking to you at all. And English turns into one long sound with no edges. You catch one word, you stop to decode it, and while you are decoding, 6 more words go past you. By the time you catch up, they have changed the subject. Then comes the part nobody admits. You nod, you smile, you say yes. And you promise yourself you will study harder tonight. So you go home and do the logical thing, more vocabulary lists, more grammar reviews, slower audio, subtitles on. And your listening barely moves. Because you are treating the wrong problem. Here is the evidence, and you have already seen it yourself. When you read the transcript afterwards, you understand it completely, every word easily. Think about what that means. If you can read it, you already know the words. The words were never missing. What was missing was your ability to find them inside the sound. The vocabulary researcher Paul Nation spent years measuring how many words a person actually needs. For everyday spoken English, most learners are far closer to enough than they believe, and still they cannot follow a 2-minute conversation. That gap is not knowledge, that gap is recognition. And recognition is a completely different skill. You have thousands of words stored in your head, filed away in their careful, complete dictionary shape. The shape your teacher said, the shape the app said. Real speech almost never uses that shape. So the word is there, the sound arrives, and your brain searches for a match, and finds nothing because it is holding a photograph of a word that just walked past wearing a different coat. So what is really happening in those 10 seconds? Start with something strange about speech. Written English has spaces between the words, spoken English does not. There is no silence between what and air and you. The stream arrives glued together, and your brain has to cut it apart in real time without a single visual clue. Linguists call this segmentation, and the psycholinguist Ann Cutler spent a career studying how listeners do it. Her work showed something important. English listeners lean on stress. The strong beats in the stream tell them where new words are likely to begin. English has a heavy, uneven rhythm, strong, weak, weak, strong, and native listeners use that rhythm as a map. Now here is the problem. If your first language gives every syllable roughly equal weight, your brain learned a different map, a very good map, for a different country. So you are cutting the stream in the wrong places. John Field, who studies exactly how learners fail at listening, found that this creates a specific kind of error. You do not hear nothing, you hear the wrong thing. A real English word that was never actually said. And then you build the rest of the sentence on top of that mistake, and everything after it collapses. There is one more layer, and it is the biggest one. Richard Caldwell, who studies the sound of spontaneous speech, describes classroom audio as a greenhouse. Everything is grown carefully. Each word is complete, clean, separated. Real conversation, he says, is a jungle. Sounds drop out, endings vanish, words melt into their neighbors. You spent years studying the greenhouse. Then you walked into the jungle and wondered why nothing looked familiar. Let me show you the jungle right now, and I want you to do this out loud. Say this exactly as it is written. Do not translate it, just say the sounds.
Say it again faster.
That is a complete English question. It is, did you eat yet? 3 words compressed into 2 beats, and every native speaker in the world would understand it instantly. Try another one. Say it out loud. What? That is, what are you doing? 4 words, 2 beats. One more and make it lazy. I should have kept it. I should have kept it. Now notice what just happened in your mouth. The moment you said it yourself, you recognized it. That is not a coincidence. Merrill Swain built an entire theory around this idea that producing language forces you to notice things that listening alone lets you skip. When you say the compressed version, you finally hear where the sounds went. And here is what that tells you about the last 5 years of your studying. You were never learning the version of English that people speak. So now the counterintuitive part, the thing that changes everything. Stop trying to hear every word. Native listeners do not hear every word. They cannot. The unstressed syllables in fast speech are often physically incomplete in the audio signal. What they hear are the strong beats, the content words, and then their brain fills the rest in from context, faster than they notice. You are doing the opposite. You are trying to catch 100% of the sound, which means you spend all your attention on the weak parts and you miss the strong ones. That is why you fall behind and never catch up. And that leads to the second uncomfortable thing. Slowing the audio down feels like it helps. It does not past a certain point, because a slowed recording restores all the sounds that real speech deletes. You are practicing a version of English that nobody produces. It is comfortable. It is also a dead end. Do not slow the audio down. Shorten the clip instead. So what do you actually do tomorrow? Take 20 seconds of real speech, not a lesson. A podcast, an interview, a scene, 20 seconds at full natural speed. Listen 5 times with no text. It will feel useless. It is not. You are training your brain to cut the stream. Then read the transcript once. Find the exact place where the sound and the words disagree. That place is your real weakness, and it is worth more than 100 new vocabulary words. Then listen twice more with no text and hear it appear. Then say it out loud at full speed, sloppy and compressed like the speaker did. Not carefully. Carefully is the greenhouse. And then tomorrow, come back to the same 20 seconds. Herman Ebbinghaus showed us more than a century ago that memory is rebuilt by returning, not by staring longer. Same clip tomorrow. Same clip-in. Stephen Krashen calls this narrow listening, one speaker, one topic again and again until that voice becomes easy. And then the next voice is easier too, because you are no longer learning content, you are learning the shape of the stream. 20 seconds a day, not 2 hours, 20 seconds done properly. And choose the speaker on purpose. Most learners jump between accents every day and wonder why nothing gets easier. Stay with one voice for 2 weeks, one podcast host, one actor, one friend. Every voice has its own habits, its own favorite ways of crushing words together. Learn one voice deeply, and you have not learned one voice. You have learned what crushing sounds like. Then the next speaker costs you 3 days instead of 3 months. And one last thing, turn the subtitles off during and on after. Subtitles while you listen feel like listening. They are reading. Your eyes are fast enough to rescue you, and so your ears never have to grow. So think back to that moment. You understood every word in the lesson. Then the movie started, and you understood nothing. The movie was not faster. The actors were not better, and you were not worse than you thought. You were simply listening for a version of English that only exists in classrooms. The real one is messier, lazier, and much more forgiving than you think. It has fewer sounds in it, not more. And tomorrow, when someone speaks too fast, notice what you do. Notice whether you are chasing every syllable, awed or catching the strong beats and letting the rest arrive on its own. That small change is not a trick. That is what understanding actually feels like.